Chapter 14, Part 3, Northern Netherlands. This is the Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. When it's open, like you see here, it is little over 7 feet high and 12 feet wide. Hieronymus spent his life in Hertogenbosch. Not much is known about his life, partly because of a fire in the city hall. But we do know that he had a patron in the Duke of Burgundy, and his works were collected by King Philip II of Spain. This is his most well-known piece. It is an altarpiece for a church. So let's dive into this. What we have here on the left-hand side is paradise. We have Adam and Eve in the lower quadrant, and then we are surrounded by fantastical creatures, some of which are based in real life. In the center, we have the sinfulness of earth. We have people doing all sorts of things, again, fantastical buildings. And then on the right-hand side, we have hell. So we have people being tortured. We have, of course, the fires of hell. This is the outer wings of the Garden of Earthly Delights. So when it is closed, this is what you see. So this was God creating the earth. Psalms 33, for he spake it and it was done. He commanded it and it stood fast. This is about day 3 of the creation. So we have earth, we have the heavens, we have it all in black and white, which is a contrast to the bright colors whenever you open up this altarpiece. Here is a close-up of paradise. You see Adam and Eve and God there in the garden. On the upper quadrant, which is zoomed in on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see we've got animals that we are familiar with, from the elephants to the giraffe. Now, some of these might look a little strange. Part of this is because we are familiar with these animals thanks to media and zoos. People hadn't seen these animals, and so they might have just read a description of them. And so this is how they're trying to depict these animals. So that's why the giraffe looks a little bit odd. We've got the long neck and some other of the elements, but obviously the hindquarters look odd. Also notice that there is a unicorn on the far left side of this. And you can see the fantastical fountain in the center of the piece. So this is the earth. You see people cavorting, you see all sorts of kind of chaos happening, some things that are hard to describe in here. You also have giant birds and some other fantastical creatures in this one as well. And then here is the hell scene. You can see the fires on the top. Again, some fantastical creatures and things happening. Obviously, some of these are torturous and things based on descriptions in Revelations. On the lower right side, you will see a pig in a nun's habit. This is obviously a social commentary on his view of some of the corruption happening in the Catholic Church at the time. Here's some close-ups of the hell scene. So you can see there's some musical instruments ranging from a person basically being crucified on a harp to all sorts of things. If you look at the lower left, zooming in, we see some musical notation, including on an individual's bottom. That actually has been written and recorded, and I will play that for you in class on Monday, so you can actually hear the, quote, butt music of Hieronymus Bosch. That's not all he's done. He actually completed some wonderful pieces, so let's go over a few of them real quick. This is the hay wain. Now, at first it looks like a fun thing, but then you realize that there's some chaos happening here. We have God looking down from the skies at what is happening. You see demons that are pulling this hay. You see kind of the chaos. Again, a commentary on the church in the lower right with the monk or abbot that's sitting there eating and drinking with the nuns doing the work. You can see that these people are not working like they should. They're enjoying themselves. And again, a social commentary here. This is the temptation of St. Anthony. We're actually going to see that's a very popular theme we're going to see again and again. This is about St. Anthony who had gone into the desert and was tempted by the devil. In this case, we see him being tempted by a nude woman in the waters in front of him. Again, we have some interesting creatures all around, but you see that he is in the center alone on his rock by the tree. This is a fun piece. This is the extraction of the stone of madness. Yes, they actually did do brain surgery in the medieval times. This was a thought that there was something in the brain that caused madness. And I had to include this because I think this is one of the more normal pieces of his. This is Adoration of the Magi. We have the Magi coming in to the Virgin and Child. I've got farm animals, little dog. No fantastical creatures in this one. Now we move to France. This is Etienne Chevalier and Saint Stephen. This is the left wing of the Melun diptych. This is by Jean Fouquet. So Jean Fouquet was the court painter to King Charles VII. He was a book illuminator as well as a panel painter and had traveled to Italy for training. So in this piece, he is painting King Charles VII's treasurer, Etienne Chevalier. And we also see Saint Stephen on the right. He's the one that's carrying the book and the stone. He was stoned to death, so you often see him holding a stone. So you see Etienne being a very pious individual here, hands in prayer. But please note the wonderful garment that Etienne is wearing, the voluminous sleeves, wonderful depiction there. And this is the right wing of the Melun diptych, same thing. This is Madonna and Child. Now, there's a couple interesting things here. First off, you will notice that the breasts don't really look like breasts. They look like balls or balloons just kind of attached to a torso. So that's kind of awkward. Then you'll also notice her face. This is the face of Agnes Sorel, who was King Charles VII's mistress. That's kind of an interesting aspect there. And then you have the bright red and bright blue angels surrounding. There's a kind of an otherworldly quality here. But you do still have the wonderful fabric being depicted in this piece. We have a rising triangle in this piece. If you follow down from the crown, one arm and then the other arm and then over, we have a rising triangle as the composition of the piece. A couple of years ago, this piece was going around the internet. There was a big internet meme and people were saying that this was the fashion of the French court to have one breast exposed, which is incorrect. I know you're shocked to find out the internet isn't always correct, but it's not. This was oftentimes depicted in paintings where the Madonna will have the Christ child on her lap and one breast exposed. This has to do with being a nursing mother and giving nourishment to the child, has nothing to do with French court fashions. So this is what the piece looks like altogether. Now we go to Spain. This is Bartolomé Bermejo. This is a Pieta. Pieta is Mary holding the dead Christ after he's come down from the cross. You will see that there is extreme emotion being depicted in this. You often see that in some of the Spanish works. It's a very atmospheric landscape dominated by that empty cross in the background. Saint Jerome is being depicted as the deacon of the Cathedral of Barcelona, who is the individual who actually paid for this work. Conrad Witz, the Miraculous Draught of Fishes. This is for the Bishop of Geneva. These is from a series on the scenes from the life of St. Peter. Christ is calling St. Peter to walk across the Sea of Galilee to join him. We actually see Peter 2 times. We actually see him in the boat, and we also see him as he attempted to walk on water and fell through. So we see him, he's in the blue, so we see him twice. The interesting thing about this is not set at the Sea of Galilee. This is actually Lake Geneva, and how Lake Geneva looked at that time. So while we might have more biblically inspired garments, the setting is distinctly contemporary. This is originally part of a wing to an altarpiece. This is Boxheim St. Christopher. I know I mentioned earlier that we were going to speak more on St. Christopher. I already mentioned his story. He is a giant who is helping people across the river. We see him depicted here helping the Christ child. This is a woodcut, so the image is carved into a piece of wood and then inked. Johann Gutenberg invented the movable type in 1450, the first Bible printed in 1455. So we have these new technologies for printmaking, and this allows people to own a piece of art that never would have been able to before, because these are available for pennies. And so now the lower classes are able to own these pieces of art and hang them in their homes. This is another Temptation of St. Anthony. This is by Martin Schongauer. This is, again, St. Anthony being bombarded by the devil, who is throwing everything at him. And we have all of these demons or creatures pushing, pulling, hitting him. And you can see that he is attempting to stay calm and together with all of this chaos surrounding him.